good evening. We are live. This is Brandon Neal, and this is the Be Progressive Show. Today is February the 9th, and we're going to start off with, I would say, probably my most hated pundit on the right. I just can't even stand to listen to her speak. She is just awful. Not only is she just really dumb, she's also just that voice and that smarmy ass attitude is Laura Ingraham, and I just can't take her. So I don't even do videos, about with her on it because I just can't listen to her. But I saw something today that she did last night that I just have to do. Let's watch this, and I'll won't be long before I stop it. Trust me.
Laura Ingraham, this is Ingram Angle from Washington tonight. Now, for the American left, tomorrow, as Sean was talking about, is the real Super Bowl. But why are there still so many outstanding questions regarding the events of January 6th? We'll lay them out. Also tonight, will you need a vaccine certificate to get on an airplane? I warned you about this last March, believe it or not. A former airline CEO says this will be a total disaster if Biden pushes it. And how politics pushed a billionaire
I'm really curious as to how having to have just a certificate showing that you've had a vaccine is any different than having to have all the other paperwork and things that go with flying. It's like, oh, it's going to be a disaster. These people that work in these airlines, is going to take them tens of seconds to look at this. Just a moron. She's so stupid.
Musician into becoming a fake cowboy. Raymond Arroyo breaks that all down and more in Seen and Unseen. But first, Biden's insurrection.
What?
That's the focus of tonight's angle.
I bet it is, you dumb.
All right, let's face it. The Democrats and the media that serve them, they're like addicts looking for their next fix. And their drug of choice over the past 5 years has been Donald J. Trump. They just cannot quit him. And this week, they'll snort, inhale, and smoke Trump 24/7.
This is what's called classic projection. And this is something that Fox News and the right is really good at. So all of us liberals or people on the left we're just addicted to Trump, and we just can't get enough of him for 5 years, and we just want to snort it and listen. It's like, come on, dude. That's your fucking party. That's you, Laura Ingraham. That's you. You've only recently been able to see because you finally pulled your head out of his ass. I mean, you are just, it's just pure projection. Every Republican, in a majority of the Republicans still have their head up Trump's ass and, doing all the things that she's saying. This is classic projection from, a moron that's never had an original thought in her mind ever.
As they try to suck you into their downward spiral. If you're conservative and you voted for Trump, they want you demoralized by the impeachment proceedings and the January 6th riot. And
weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning.
And if you don't fall for their shiny object shtick, you're also going to see that his team is populated by snotty, entitled, overeducated, underperforming goofballs. They're slowly but surely.
Yep, once again, there's that projection. That's pretty much everybody on the right and at Fox News.
Dismantling our economy, attacking our prosperity, and opening the door to an endless stream of illegal aliens, drug dealers, and gang members.
Oh, yes.
The New York Times and Washington Post shockingly admit.
But you know what, Laura? None of those people that you just talked about, none of those immigrants, that you call terrorists because they're, fleeing a war-torn country that was probably war-torn because of the United States to begin with. But you're calling all of these people, these immigrants, it's just, come on. Just absolutely ridiculous. The problem is none of these immigrants, none of these illegal immigrants have done, or legal or illegal, have done anything close to what Laura Ingram's party has done at the Capitol building. Immigrants didn't go into the Capitol building and take a shit on the floor and then wipe it on the walls. Nope, that was a Republican. That was a Trump supporter. That was a Laura Ingraham supporter. And that is what Laura Ingraham supports, is she supports having a big, gigantic toddler fit when your president doesn't win an election. You know, that's what we have here. We don't have immigrants coming into this country and trying to take over the Capitol building. We don't need them to do that. We have the Republican Party for that, the insurrectionist party, the sedition party, the worthless as shit party.
Over the weekend that Biden's presidency is about to get slammed by thousands upon thousands of families and unaccompanied minors, all illegal immigrants, at the southern border. Now, if we had a Congress that was focused on protecting American jobs, safety, health care, and education,
then no one would vote for Republicans.
They would immediately tighten asylum laws. Remember, Trump's common sense policy required that applicants from Central America who want to seek asylum in our country, they had to pass through, Mexico on the way. They had to declare it there, not after illegally crossing our border. But last week, Biden did away with that. And that's not the only thing. He's going to effectively dismantle our entire immigration enforcement. Yeah, they're just inconvenience. Let the local law enforcement deal with it, keep it welcoming more. Now think about this. At a time when we're seeing more crime, fewer jobs, and millions of kids stuck in Zoom hell and not in school,
is directly related to Donald J. Trump, Laura Ingram's cult leader. You know, it's like every single thing that she accuses the left of is a direct projection of the right. Like, why are the jobs in the tank right now? Laura, let's talk about that. Oh, that's right. You had a Republican president that botched a pandemic that's going to kill probably, I'd say it probably kills 1 million people by the time it's done. That's maybe why. And if you would have listened and the country would have listened and done as they were told, like other countries, New Zealand, for one, everyone locked down for the amount of time that they were supposed to. And that lockdown wasn't nearly as long as ours. But you know why it worked? Is because everybody complied. Because they don't have the kind of, low educated, I guess you should say, base that the Republican Party has. And that they think that putting a piece of cloth over your mouth is tyranny, I mean, they don't have those kind of idiots over there. So when we locked down, people fucking didn't listen at all. And it didn't matter, because nobody in America is going to do anything that they're supposed to do if they, it's like anyone on the right. I said America, I meant on the right. Anyone on the right's not going to do what they're supposed to do if a Democrat tells them to do it, period. I mean, it just doesn't matter. And so we didn't listen. We didn't do as we were told. And we're still suffering. And it was directly the Republican Party's fault. And it's Donald Trump's fault. And it is Laura Ingram's fault. And it is Sean Hannity's fault. And it is Tucker Carlson's fault. And it is every other dumb fuck pundit on the right out there that made the coronavirus, tried to make it a hoax. And Laura Ingraham still to this day tries to do that. Laura Ingraham is just one of the worst people on the planet. I mean, she just is absolutely awful. And the fact that they get her and Tucker and Sean and all these dumb fucks get to go on Fox News and just play down a pandemic, you literally cost thousands of lives. You literally should be in prison for murdering people. Just right off. I mean, I'm not even going to beat around the bush. I can't listen to this dumb asshole talk anymore, so I'm going to switch over to something else. We'll just have to move on. I can't stand that stupid twat. Anyway, let's go on and let's listen about how happy Trump is now that he is out of office.
Trump 2020 senior advisor Jason Miller to talk about this. Jason, nice to have you back on Wake Up America. Good morning. Multiple
Rob,
members of the legal team have called this trial unconstitutional. We've been
real quick. This is this Jason guy that he's interviewing is a Trump senior advisor, and also he is a one of these deadbeat dads that doesn't pay their child support. Lied saying how much money he was making so he didn't have to pay more. It was a big scandal a while back. He fits right in. He's a perfect Republican.
Talking about that for a couple weeks now. But do you expect Republicans, more members of the Republican side in the Senate, to side with President Trump here, barring maybe Mitt Romney?
Well, Rob, I think you bring up a really good point. As we saw from the Rand Paul effort a couple of weeks ago, where we had 45 Republicans come together and say that the whole effort was unconstitutional, I really do think that there are a couple of additional members that could come our direction on this. And here's why. It's been very clear over the last couple of weeks if the Democrats have had their initial filing, and now we'll probably see another filing from them in advance of tomorrow's trial start. They haven't laid out a very compelling case. Even the stunt, the PR stunt that we saw Jamie Raskin put forward last week to try to pull President Trump in as some sort of witness and this completely unconstitutional effort, Democrats, it's very clear this is all a PR stunt.
Right.
All they want to do this week is go and try to beat him up and try to hurt him for running in 2024. And I think folks like, whether it be Senator Collins, maybe Senator Sass, I think are looking at it and really see it the same way.
I want to play you a soundbite from Rand Paul over the weekend. Rand Paul is somebody who has experienced violence that was incited by the left directly. Don't forget, Rand Paul had a neighbor come over and basically beat him up. I think he broke 6 ribs. And Rand Paul was injured after, some neighbor didn't like his Republican conservative viewpoints. But
I'm sure that's not what it was. I'm sure it was Rand Paul being an asshole.
here's Rand Paul speaking this weekend. Take a listen.
Zero chance of conviction. 45 Republicans have said it's not even a legitimate proceeding, so it's really over before it starts. As far as witnesses, I think unlikely to be witnesses. If they do want witnesses, there's going to be so much evidence that the president had nothing to do with this. It was planned previously on Facebook. The bombs were planted the night before. People were attacking the Capitol who weren't part of the speech. They were already attacking the Capitol while he was just beginning to give the speech.
That's actually completely false. There is, I'll find it, and I'm not going to try and look for it right now, but I will find it and do it on tomorrow's show. But there is a video of the cell phone GPS tracking data that shows the cluster of people at the Trump speech where he was speaking right before he told them to storm the Capitol. And you see that there is a huge mob of cell phones there, little, green dots. And as soon as his speech ends, they have the time marked there. As soon as that ends, that entire crowd goes directly to the Capitol building. And in this video, you can see the Capitol building, like they're, drawing of it or whatever. And there's nobody over there. There's like 1 or 2 little phones here and there. It's like not a crowd at all. And then they all move over. So that is completely and utterly false.
Down there, there's all kinds of evidence that goes against them.
Yeah, Jason, it kind of surprises me that they keep going on with Chris Wallace because these interviews are more and more adversarial. Chris Wallace no longer a soft landing point for conservatives over there on Fox.
Nor should
I
anyone be, you fucking turd. There shouldn't be a soft landing for a Democrat or a Republican.
Reaction to what Rand Paul had to say there.
Well, and I'd just say to that final point, but they did find a way to have Liz Cheney on yesterday to go and pop off additionally at the president, which saw a couple of the stories afterwards. And the thing that I was surprised didn't get picked up, Liz Cheney has a 13% reelect hard number in Wyoming. I mean, she's finished. I mean, they're at 13%. Even in a 3-way primary, she still finishes third. So I don't expect we'll see Liz Cheney in the future. But, to this whole issue of witnesses, which
they have such disdain for justice.
Democrats have been throwing out there. I still don't see it as being likely. There's an outside chance, but I don't see it'll happen. Democrats should really think about this for a moment. Do they really want Nancy Pelosi to be brought in as a witness to explain about, to talk about their rejecting efforts from the administration and from the White House to give them additional security and additional aid in the summer months and in the run-up, even up until January 6th? I don't think they want to talk about that. Does AOC want to get up there and talk about where she really was on January 6th? Because we know it wasn't at the Capitol, and AOC is taking quite a bit of heat over that. So does Chuck Schumer really want to be a witness himself to talk about the violence that he incited in front of the Supreme Court or Maxine Waters? So I don't think Democrats really want to go down this road. They can.
No, we're going down the road. We're heading down that road. And because everything he said is horseshit. No one's incited violence on the left like the Capitol insurrection crap. No one's done that. And that's just not going to happen. So, yeah. The piece goes on to say that Trump is a lot happier now that he's out of office. Well, of course, he's fucking just sitting around being fat, eating Big Macs, and playing golf. I mean, that's what he's going to do. So, anyway, we'll move on. I saw a story here in AP that just fucking got under my skin, man. So, South Dakota had an amendment that was voted on that passed for legalizing marijuana. And the right-wing dumb shits that run that state, of course, are doing everything that they can to block this. So it says the South Dakota judge on Monday struck down a voter-approved constitutional amendment that legalized recreational marijuana after Governor Kristi Noem's administration challenged it. Circuit Judge Christian Klinger ruled the measure approved by voters in November violated the state's requirement that constitutional amendments deal with just one subject and would have created broad changes to state government. Quote, Amendment A is a revision as it has far-reaching effects on the basic nature of South Dakota's government system, she wrote in her ruling. Brenda Johnson, who sponsored the amendment and represented a pro-marijuana group in the court, said it was preparing an appeal for the South Dakota Supreme Court. 2 law enforcement officers, Highway Patrol Superintendent Colonel Rick Miller and Pennington County Sheriff Kevin Tom, sued to block legalization by challenging its constitutionality. Miller was effectively acting on behalf of South Dakota Governor Noem, who had opposed the effort to legalize weed. It's amazing. Okay, so they're trying to stop. Their voters voted, and their voters want it, and they say no. So that's automatically, there's no democracy there, none. You just get to say willy-nilly. And you're using some, basically a technicality on the way that it was written to try and weasel your fucking way out of it. And, I just don't understand how we have things that are completely legal that are so much more dangerous than marijuana. And the only reason that these people, because Republicans are greedy assholes, so, if they see enough money being made in marijuana, which they should see it now, then eventually they're going to come around to the idea. But the problem that we have right now is a majority of the politicians in office through the state level and through the federal level and across the Republican Party and across the Democratic Party is they all have ties to the pharmaceutical industry. They all have ties to the medical insurance industry. Those two, do not want marijuana at all. The tobacco industry is another one. Does not want marijuana. They think people will smoke that instead of their cigarettes, and their cigarettes actually have very harmful man-made chemicals in them that will cause lung cancer. And marijuana doesn't have any chemicals. It's grown right out of the ground, and then that's what you smoke. So, inhaling burnt plant matter into your lungs is never healthy, but it's 1,000 times better for you than cigarettes. And the fact that we can go out and I can go right down the street, I can get a gigantic bottle of whiskey, and I can get a, carton of cigarettes, and there's so many things out there that are so much more harmful. And, they keep trying to come up with these old, excuses as to why we shouldn't legalize marijuana. It's we can't road test people because they could have smoked it 2 days ago and it's still in their system and blah, blah, blah. It's just, and, police stations and police, precincts make a lot of money off busting people for marijuana too. It's one of their largest, busts, I would say, is busting people for pot, because everybody fucking smokes pot. And whether you think that they don't, then a lot more people do than you think that they do. So, these ideas are not popular, as per most Republican policies, and the thing that makes me mad about it is the people on the left, the Democrats too, that are still fighting it because they're in the pocket of insurance companies and, big tobacco and pharmaceutical industry. There's a lot of things that marijuana is going to do for people's health that's going to make them stop buying things like, ibuprofen or Tylenol or whatever new, medicine that's came out, that's some pain medicine that's probably going to get you hooked on. And, so they don't want a simple fix for a lot of things. And marijuana is fantastic for stress. It's fantastic for, joint pain and things like that. And that's going to cut into their profits in the medical field, or in the medical insurance and the pharmaceutical and big tobacco. Those three, they don't want it at all. And, this is just another example of a majority of people voting and on an issue where it's 50 or 60%, approve, and then the Republican Party don't want it, can't do it anyway. It's the Republican Party constantly going against the voices of their constituents, constantly. On anything. If you poll Medicare for all across Democrats and Republicans, it's 60-some%. All of the progressive ideas poll very well individually when you don't tell them that it's a Democratic or a Republican policy. You just tell them, hey, what do you think about X? So, another example of the Republican Party being, basically dictators and going against their constituents. They're there to represent the people, never do it. All right, so I found something else that I thought was funny. It was this Thomas Massey said, "We just introduced H.R. 899 to improve education. The bill is one sentence. The Department of Education shall terminate on December 31st, 2022. The best part about this? Look who sponsored that. Lauren Boebert. Mrs. I just got my GED a little while ago, probably not even a year ago. It just, does that not fall, does the irony not fall on you there where you see that, Just absolutely stupid. Let's see what else. Let's see. Yeah, in terms of his impeachment, once again, this is the people speaking and the Republicans not listening, but that's kind of how it is. This was a poll, a Gallup poll, and just over half, 52% of the respondents to the poll that was released on Monday said that they wanted their senators to vote to convict Trump for inciting an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Enthusiasm is particularly high. Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents with 89% in support of conviction and 7% in opposition. Among Republicans and Republican-leaning independents, just 10% said that they favor convicting Trump, while 88% currently oppose the former presidential conviction. The Gallup notes that it conducted similar polling in the run-up to Trump's first impeachment, and after then, President was impeached for withholding aid to Ukraine, and there was a lesser support for conviction at that point at only 46 and as opposed to 51 now. So it appears that there are a fair amount of Republicans in the base across the United States that have changed their mind since the insurrection and saying, no, now we're pretty sure he's gonna have to go. And I don't really know why a lot of these people in Congress that are on Trump's side are still on his side. They're seeing all of the businesses, stop working with Trumpers and the banks, and they're losing, jobs, or they're losing work contracts, and no one wants to deal with you. If you are attached to Trump, then you're a toxic, pus ball just like he is, and they don't want any part of you. And that's when the right says that, it's the left's cancel culture, but it's actually the right's mouth, that has got them in this situation. And I said it last night, the Democrats didn't do any of this, insurrection stuff and impeaching Trump because he incited it and all that. That's all on the Republican Party. The Democrats didn't have anything to do with that. So, you are the ones that allowed somebody like Trump to lead a mob of people to the Capitol and do all the awful things that were done there, literally trying to kidnap and kill politicians. And yeah, it's just ridiculous that people still support this guy, even though they're losing their friends and their family, and they're losing their businesses, and they're losing all of their income, and they still have their head up that fucking worthless, dumb orange waterhead's ass. And I don't get it. I just still don't understand what it is. And I get why there are Republican politicians that are still doing it. are still supporting him or faux supporting him. And it's because the MAGA base has become the Republican base, and they are scared of those people because they know they might not win re-election if they don't support this stupid asshole. And that is how dictators come to power. Hitler lost his first run and came back. So, I'm not saying that Trump's Hitler. I'm not saying that's what he's out to do. I'm not saying any of that stuff, but I'm saying that he would prefer and would go along if he had the support to be a dictator. He would do it. I guarantee it, So I don't know what you're waiting on, MAGA dumbasses, but it's time for you to head out. And, they were talking about that Trump should be convicted by a secret ballot. That way, all of the Trump politicians that know and think that he did it and he needs to be punished, but they're not going to vote for that because they're scared of their voters. If they did it secretly, then I think you would see a lot more Republicans. And I think that he would actually be convicted. And I do not think that he will be convicted if they don't. So that's something that they really should do. And I saw this article actually that said, I can find where it was at there. Yeah, it said that not only can Trump be impeached, but based on the evidence, should be unanimously convicted by a secret ballot, according to some wild-eyed liberal who ran the Office of Legal Counsel for Presidents Reagan and Bush. And so, I think that it's just all it is right now. It's people, politicians on the right that are just scared of the Trump base. They'll slowly start removing their support for him, and in a few years, the biggest, most ardent, fervent Trump supporters will tell you that, I never supported the guy. I hate that guy. I didn't like him at all. It's always that slow backing away. But, really, I'm kind of surprised that the backing away hasn't already started more than it has. I'm kind of surprised that he's still pulling support even though he's out of office. Why does this matter? I guess it's just, it's a lot of ego and a lot of party fighting, and it's just, it's just typical Congress, just do nothing, don't hold anybody accountable at all for anything, and they don't care, so I don't know what to tell them. But last thing we'll talk about here was, I was just talking that, all of these people and businesses and things are pulling away from Trump, and it said that Trump's business is shunned and everyone is being sued. And a month after the deadly riot, Donald Trump's living comfortably at his private Florida club, and he's been gearing up for the latest impeachment trial. He's been deprived of many of his toys and privileges that came with the presidency, and he's suffering from boredom. But he's also been basking in the comfort of knowing that the Republican Party will today continue to bend over backwards, and they did, as always. So I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But these people are going to continue to support this fucking moron. And I guess they're just cowards and they're scared of losing re-election. But it's time for the Republican Party to get off of their knees in front of Trump, pop out the covfefe out of your mouth, and stand up for America. This is the Be Progressive Show. I am Brandon Neal, and this will conclude tonight's live show. I will be back tomorrow, 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and comment. And share. Those things really help us new YouTube content creators, and we definitely appreciate it. It's hard to get started. So anything you can do like that would help me greatly. So we will see you all back tomorrow, 7 p.m., and I hope everyone has a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.